What's next for you? Like, I'm trying to figure out, are you the next Marshall McLuhan? Are you the next Billy Graham? Like, are you a prof, or are you
Billy McLuhan? I don't know what's next, really.
That's University of Toronto psychology professor Jordan Peterson, YouTube star, free speech advocate, when he was my guest here on The Weekly back in January. Well, since then, his self-help book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, has been an international bestseller.
He's embarking on a 40-city speaking tour for his new book, 12 Rules for Life. Please welcome Jordan Peterson. I'm a big fan, as you might have guessed.
He's been everywhere, talking political correctness with everyone from Bill Maher on HBO to the Monk debates in Toronto.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toronto's Jordan Peterson.
Peterson first came to national attention when he spoke out about Bill C-16 and a U of T policy refusing to use gender-neutral pronouns, saying it was a matter of free speech.
I can envision a student or a colleague insisting that I call them using gender-neutral pronouns, je or je, I think it is. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
So there was that, and then the latest controversy came from a New York Times profile last month, and he was asked about the man charged in the Toronto van attack who claimed to be part of a misogynist group called incels, or involuntary celibates. Peterson told the Times he was angry at God because women were rejecting him, and that the cure for that is enforced monogamy. Peterson later said he wasn't endorsing state-enforced monogamy, but rather socially enforced monogamous conventions. Well, stuff like that prompted his longtime close friend and colleague, U of T professor emeritus Bernard Schiff, to write this article for the Toronto Star saying, "I was Jordan Peterson's strongest supporter. Now I think he's dangerous." Joining me is the author of that Toronto Star article, Bernard Schiff. So now you've written this article saying I was his strongest supporter. Now you want the world to know that you think he's dangerous. What do you mean by dangerous?
Well, in the article, I say he might be dangerous. And what I mean about that is that he's gathering around himself a following. Now, there's some reasonable people in that following. A lot of the following are pretty angry people, and as evidenced by the attacks on everybody who says anything bad about Jordan. I wrote this article because I know reasonable people who think there's nothing wrong with Jordan. They've seen him once or they've read part of the book. And I thought it was important for people to have a broader picture of Jordan. There are many different Jordans. My last conversation with him, I emailed him and said, "I'm upset about what you're doing." He called me the next morning at 8 o'clock. We're going to have to talk. I start talking. He stops me. He says, "Bernie, Tammy had a dream." That's his wife. Lovely woman. And sometimes her dreams are prophetic. I said, "Okay, Jordan, what was the dream?" She dreamed it was 5 minutes to midnight. At that point, I knew there was no point talking. I mean, he thinks the world is going to come to an end and he is going to save us. Jordan is a self-styled martyr and a self-styled savior.
When we talked to him a couple of months ago, he said that I'm reaching out to all of these people and I'm trying to bring them in from the dark.
I think he's enabling them to be in the dark. I think he's encouraging misogyny. He's encouraging nastiness. I mean, these people feel enabled, and now they are more actively angry. I don't think he's bringing them in from the dark at all. There are some people who are. There are some people who are lost their ways, who are nice people. I'm getting emails from them, and they're reasonable, but I'm also getting a lot of really nasty emails, like, "You're a communist, get out of the country," and stuff like that.
He was a very close friend of yours. So like,
was very close.
why now? Like, what turned for you or for him?
What turned for me is when he came out against Bill C-16 in an aggressive and nasty manner.
Which was protections for trans people and so on, yeah.
Protection for trans people. In my article, I say I have a trans daughter, but that's not why I'm upset. And it is not why I'm upset. I'm upset because he was distorting the science. He was distorting the bill itself.
After you wrote the article, Jordan Peterson tweeted at you and the whole world. He says, "I know Bernie to be a tireless advocate for his daughter who's faced serious health problems. As someone who's been in the same situation, I can sympathize and presume only that my reaction to C-16 cut too close to the bone. So do you think he's trying to suggest that you only wrote it because you have a trans daughter?
Yes. I think he said, because what he says is he describes a severe illness. The way he does it, people are thinking that severe illness is related to trans, and that's why it's very upsetting. And it's not true. My daughter does have an illness that's eminently manageable. She's been extremely successful. And it has nothing to do with her gender, my objection to him.
And to you, this represents what he does?
Well, it's exactly what Jordan does. Jordan takes two facts, puts them together to create a fiction. So people will say, Jordan, you said that transgender is an illness? And he'd say, no, I didn't say that.
Why do you think he's doing that?
I think he's doing that so people will discount what I wrote. So he had to find a way of disqualifying me. And he was successful with his following. That's apparently on tweets now, it's, well, Bernie's daughter is a transgender and she's sick.
And that makes you mad?
It doesn't. Yes, it makes me mad. It was a dishonest expression of the nature of our relationship. It was a trusting relationship. I don't think I betrayed a trust by describing what he's doing. Everything in there is sort of public. I was just upset about what he was doing, and I thought there were a lot of people who were being misled, and I thought I needed to straighten that out.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Pleasure being here.
We reached out to Professor Peterson for a comment on all of this, and he said, Bernie remains a good friend of mine as far as I'm concerned. I am as well very grateful for the support he provided and for his kindnesses over the many years my family and I have known him. I'm sorry that he feels as he does now, believe that he is mistaken in his current opposition to what I'm doing, but support his right to express his objections as he sees fit. Coming up, a round of peace talks and a round of golf.